pulling out to another ride start. The hurricane that came through last weekend really tore up all our neighborhoods. I don't know if I've got a beat clip. I may, if I do, I'll load it on here. But trees down, trees on people's houses. I mean, it's just been a mess. We've been out of power since Monday. This is Saturday. You know, the Texas grid, it's not exactly primo. We might as well be in a fourth world state. They could not even keep up. It's a category 1. You know what happens? You know, they go to like category 5 is supposedly the top. We had the weakest one and we can't even recover. So it's been a mess the whole week. Things been shut down, traffic lights out, all kinds of stuff. So hopefully we'll have a good turnout and we'll get some clips for you all.
On this ride, I left Northampton, rolled into the Woodlands. It was just a little bit of light drizzle when I was heading out. Once we picked up the group at the Alden Village Center, headed out Honia Egypt Road, the rain started. We went through Grand Lake Estates. There's nothing I hate more than riding in a bunch in the wet because you get all this grime on you. In fact, when I got back, I washed out my jersey right away because you don't want it to set in. The water was literally black because I washed it in the sink. And that's the biggest thing with riding in the rain. A lot of cleanup after you get back. It was not forecasted. I ended up coming back alone through Montgomery and took Springbranch. I backtracked on Springbranch. That was not the original route, but I decided to kind of do my own thing on the way back. The ride started out really fast, as you would see from the clips that I put together for you. So it ended up being a little different ride. And then with the rain, I decided to change the route and head back in. It still ended up being a very productive day, and I was able to maintain a steadier pace on the way back. I think you would like the clips put together for you. We're on the open road.
Clear?
The FM 2978. We're in Montgomery County, Texas. We're headed northwest. We're going towards the Honia Egypt Community Road. I came out here earlier in the week. There was a tree across the road.
How are you, man?
That's Mo.
You have power back? We're still in the dark. You have power?
We got power.
Okay.
36 hours.
Our neighborhood is torn up.
What about you guys?
Not yet. Yeah, our neighborhood is torn up. Trees down, people's houses got holes in the roof. Your whole neighborhood is just a mess. I had to get my axe out and chop up some branches and haul them.
Wow, it's Paul Bunyan, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I don't have a power saw, so I use an
You got
axe.
that right.
Old school.
All that sucker on the curb. Far back, far back.
This road had a tree across it earlier in the week on Tuesday. You'll see it on the sides. They've already sliced them, cut them up. And that's what we've done so far. We've been able to just cut up trees, clear the roads. People haul things to the street. So we have a lot of piles of debris in front of every home. We have some people that had trees damage their roof. Some of them put tarps on. It's just a mess. It's going to take a while to crawl out of this. And so the trees fall and bring the power lines down, but we still have a weaker grid. Our grid is below par in Texas. Texas chose to not be part of the national grid. And to be part of the national grid, you got to have higher standards. The federal standards are high. They chose to do their own thing, and then it's below par. On a sunny day when the wind blows, our lights flicker. So I don't even set my digital clock anymore because it's always blinking because the light flickers. You know, very frequently we have that issue here. So they need to get up to speed. This is like a fourth world power grid that we have. You guys remember Texas froze to death a few years ago when we couldn't handle the freeze and our power went out. So it's the same stuff. They haven't improved anything. And we continue to vote for the same yahoos that are in bed with these substandard power companies. And that's what I put on our Nextdoor app. Quit whining and vote for people that will give you a better quality grid instead of all these little games that are in the pockets of these companies. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox, but that's what it is. Too much corruption. They're not trying to serve their constituents. They need to get money out of politics. That's what's ruining it. Money is not speech. So the guy with the biggest wallet is what? He's speaking louder than we are. So they're going for where the dollars are. You see those trees on the right? It was across the road on both sides. They cut them. So the trees fell and took a little part of that white fence that you see there. So this storm was, it was heavy. There was a lot of wind. And our pine trees went down in mass because the soil was very saturated and the winds were vicious. And their roots are not super deep, so depending on what's going on, that it doesn't take too much. So a Cat 1 it caused us to be out of power for like 5 days. So a whole business week was lost because some restaurants and other places could not open. So it's just been a mess. So we got our power back the afternoon of this ride. So from Monday to Saturday, we had no power. So Saturday around 2 p.m. in the afternoon on the day of this ride is when our power came back in my neighborhood. And the same thing with Paul. Paul got his power back, I believe, Saturday morning, something like that. Paul lives a few minutes from where I am. So it's an embarrassment for our state. I mean, I love Texas and everything, but we're not setting a trend. We're not impressing anyone with these substandard power grids and so forth that we have. Then people want to complain about FEMA and all of that. They don't want to be part of the national grid, but when they have problems, then they want to complain that the federal government ain't doing enough. You can't have it both ways. You want to be on your own? Be on your own. You can't move out of your parents' home and then complain that mom and dad ain't helping you. Doesn't work that way. You get the gist of what I'm saying. All the other states are part of the federal network where they can borrow power and so forth when necessary. May not be the reason why we had this problem, but in order to be a part of that system, your grid has to be at a certain level. Just like you want somebody to work on your computer, you want to make sure the MCSC certified or something. It gives you a level of competency, that kind of stuff. Anyhow, you can see how fast this ride is. We're doing 42K. The ride just started out fast. So what I'm going to explain, it may be happening in your group as well. We have people that show up on our rides that have no intention of doing the 80 miles we're doing or whatever it is our ride is planned for. But for some reason, we follow like sheep regardless. There are a couple of guys up there you will see later in the film, unsolicited, will start announcing at the stop that, oh, I got to take my daughter to Dallas. I got to do that. There's always a different story as to why people turn around. I talk about it all the time. I don't really, personally, I don't care. So when they're riding like this, I just sit in. I don't help the pace because my goal is to do 6 hours or whatever. If they're only doing 2 or 3 hours, they'll ride like this, knowing that they're turning around. And on the way back, they're probably going to crawl back. They're not going to ride like this on the way back. So all they do is they mess up the ride. And in your group, you don't feel obligated to just follow anybody. So when they take off like this, sometimes I'll let them go and just do my own ride. But today, I could sit in. You can see my heart rate 142. I'm in like low zone 2. So for me, I'll sit here. It's fine. I'm not working that hard right now. In fact, once the rain started, and I hate riding in the group when it's raining. I've done it before. I did it when I competed. You're motivated for a race. Yeah, you got to get through it. Fine. But for this kind of ride that I'm doing now, just for fun, I don't feel the need to have dirty water sprayed in my face. As you all know, I have mud guards, and when I ride with Paul, he puts his on. When we know it's going to rain and we still choose to go out. But there was no rain in the forecast. So you're already out here, it starts to rain. But then you have to decide, do I stay in the spray or do I ride alone? So I don't like it. And you will see there will come a point where I will begin to sit up. And then I change my mind and I get back in the wheels. That's when we get on Springbranch Road. So I ride in the rain until we got to the stop. And it was still raining at the stop, as you will see. And then once we started to go through Mount Moriah, the rain kind of waned off. And at that point, I really wasn't motivated to keep riding with these guys. I just decided, hey, you know what? I'm just going to do a jig on the route that made a change. But what I was saying is that if somebody comes to your ride and they try to change the kind of ride you plan to do, you got two options. You can sit in the wheels if you have enough riders, which is what I'm doing here, or you let them go and do your ride. Don't feel obligated to follow people who don't have the same intent or goals that you have for that ride. We always get that. We get a few people that know they're not doing 80 miles. Then they'll hammer the first hour. You guys see it a lot. We end up filming, most of the ride we'll film early because by the time we get to the store, it splits. People start turning around doing other things. And that's kind of the norm around here. But so for me, when they're doing that, I just sit in. So there's a part of this ride, you hear Abby laughing back there. We're gonna go into the neighborhood. I don't know if he's asking me here now. No, I think it's inside the neighborhood. We're riding, I'm intently following the wheel, as you can see here. The pace is high. This road is a slight grade. And right now it's 2.6% and we're doing 36K. So it's about 23 miles an hour there, about almost 24. That's a good effort. So I'm focused on staying in the wheels. We get to Great Grand Lake Estates. We turn left. We begin to ride again. Then Abby asks where Paul is. So I heard him, but I didn't answer because I was intently following the wheel. It wasn't the time to be talking. There's a time for everything. That was not the time. When I'm riding, I don't want to be talking unnecessarily. I don't know why riders do that. There's a time to talk. Let's say you're riding and then the group slows down. Everybody sits up. Yeah, you can chat. But we're on the wheels and we're riding and we're on the rivet, so to speak. That's not the time to talk. I'm focused here. I'm not going to talk unnecessarily. So I hear him. I chose not to answer at that time. So when we get to the store, you will hear me walk to him and explain to him. I filmed that because I left the camera on. And at the end of the film, you will hear that, you will listen to it. And I made it clear to him. These guys were riding so fast, I was focused on riding. This is one of them that turns around. So there are always people in the group that don't have the same goals. Then they start to ride like they're riding a, say, 10-kilometer time trial or whatever. And if you know that, don't waste your energy. Don't ruin your ride, your goal for that day, for the people who are not trying to do the same thing you're doing. I mean, quite a few of these guys can ride at this pace and still do the whole route. And a lot of them end up doing that. So that's, I just wanted you to know that. But you have to pay attention to how you feel and make sure that you don't burn yourself out in the first hour of a 5-hour ride or 4-hour ride. Especially if the people you're following are not going to do. So this is where we turn into the neighborhood. That's Mo over there. And you see Mo stayed at the back. He can ride at that pace, but he chose to not participate or contribute to it. He literally says that. I hope the camera picks it up. Because he was saying that the ride started out kind of vicious and he didn't want to contribute to it. That's why he stayed in the back. Basically, he wasn't going to help them. Because he's planning on doing at least 100 miles. On Saturday, that's the minimum I've seen him do lately. So he'll ride 5 or 6 hours, you know, something like that, easy. I mean, when I say easy, he'll get 100 miles in and he's done for the day. That's his ride. But he's doing a big ride. He'll start early, ride around the woodlands, pick us up, and then go out, you know. So his goal is to do the long ride. He's not turning around at Taco. Not on Saturday. Those of you who are new to the channel, that's Mo in the middle there. He's accelerating, getting in front of, and that's Peter on the left. I think I end up letting Peter in. I don't remember what I did here. But this is around here where Abby wants to talk. I'm like, this is not the time to talk. We're doing 40K. These guys been doing 23, 24 miles an hour the first. Let's see how long we've been riding. About 20-something minutes. It's on. It's time to ride. There's a bump coming. That's why Peter kind of flipped his arms. I don't stand for those. I just transfer my weight to the pedals. So you can see I'm moving to find the draft. There's a lot of concentration going on here. I'm watching Peter's wheel. Peter is watching Mike's wheel. You see Peter looked over a little bit to see where I was. We're working here. It's not time to talk. There's nothing that needs to be discussed right now. So this is not the time to chat with your man or say something. That doesn't mean nothing. You wait till there's a lull in the pace or you guys stop or something. So I don't know if the camera picks him up. So we started out this ride very fast. So you see my heart rate, it's not very high. I've been doing a lot of riding because the power was out. I was riding like sometimes twice a day this week. So I really wasn't sure how I would feel, whether my legs would be tired, because I really increased my volume this week. There's nothing to do when power's out. The house is uncomfortable. You have no entertainment. You know, you can't work, you can't play, you know, because I do a lot of work from home. So it's kind of like, could do anything. So I just get on my bike, go in the morning, come back, you know, pass the day, and then afternoon, late evening, go back out. So I was doing very easy rides, but I did a lot of time on the bike. So my legs today felt like meh. They were not tired, they were not heavy or anything, but they didn't feel super fresh, which is normal when you increase your volume. I did not increase my intensity more than normal, but I was riding more frequently. And that's really how you increase your fitness. We're moving through this neighborhood. So you can see I'm in zone 1. I'm sitting close to Peter. And in this particular direction, I think the wind is a little more favorable. You can hear the camera's a little quiet. This is a slight downhill. So I was only working when necessary, because in about maybe 3 kilometers, maybe a mile and a half, we're gonna start going up some bumps. It's gonna curve. That's when you'll need to work hard. So it helps to know the route and know what's coming. And even if you're not familiar, just keep your eyes open and keep looking ahead. See what's coming so you can know when to prepare to put down your effort. The road's going up here. It says 2%. You see how close I am to Peter. I'm still a little on his right. And we're soft pedaling here. Because the guys at the front who are not doing the whole ride, they're riding at a pace that they can sustain steadily. Let's put it that way. It's almost like they're doing intervals. So there's always a speeding up really hard, then you slow down for a bit. So when they come to a hill, they push. Then when the hill's over, they rest. That kind of stuff. That's why you feel those yo-yos. So as Paulie Longa said, we just sit on them. There's a Mo standing on the right there. That's Maurizio. Just kind of rolling his gear out of the saddle. Sometimes it helps to stand out of the saddle. You don't have to shift. You use the upper body to help you roll that gear. It changes the way you're using your muscles. It's almost like a break or a relief. My heart rate is lower than it usually is because of all the riding I've been doing. Like I said, this week I was on the bike a lot. That does change the way your body responds. I don't pay too much attention to the heart rate. I listen to my legs. The heart rate is delayed response to what's going on. Especially when you're doing anaerobic stuff. So we've already gone through those dips I was talking about. Now we're gonna turn right in about 500 meters or so. This is a bump right here. It just says anaerobic. Look at my watts. I think Abby has already tried to ask me about Paul. I don't know if the camera got it or not. That's Abby. We're gonna be turning. Or maybe he'll ask me that. I don't remember exactly where, but wherever it was, I heard it. I just didn't respond. So the road here goes up. So for the next 5K, about 3 miles, we're going to be going up about 3 miles. So you got to plan to work if you want to stay with the bunch. You can see we turned that corner. Heart rate jumped like 20 beats because maybe out of that corner or whatever is going on. Now it's dropped. So maybe there's some interference with the monitor. So sometimes you get those erratic readings. That's why I don't pay too much attention to it when I'm riding. I glance at it periodically, but that's about it. It is not 115. That's off. Something's up. Maybe the belt is out of position or something, so it's not reading correctly. Should be like 140, 150. It'll correct itself. So the road goes up here. I think I stand here too, because it just feels better. I put it in a bigger gear and just stand. Yeah, 77, 78. I'm rolling the gear. This is not the time to fan a little gear. It's time to push. Because it's going to be going for a while. I don't think Abby has asked me yet. I think he may have done it on Keenan Cutoff. I don't remember where he did it. Well, wherever it was, I was preoccupied, and you will hear me explain to him when we stopped at the store. So don't let people distract you when you're focused and you're riding. You need your wits about you when you're in the bunch, because sometimes you get off the wheel just a little bit and you end up tapping into your energy stores. We're going downhill here. I kind of let the gap grow a little bit. I'm gonna ride back to him. I'm not pedaling because we're descending. And right here, I'll close the gap. The road's gonna kick up. So we're going to get to the gate, and the gate is going to be closed. And so a member of the group is going to climb over the fence, go around the gate to enter the code, because the keypad is on the other side of the gate. Because it's early, there's no cars coming at this point. So you hear Abby say, let the young guys climb the fence.
Let the young guys, we have
So I turn around on the hill. I'm just kind of spinning my bike. Then he's going to also tell me to, because the guy's messing around. One guy goes across to enter the code, and he messes it up. He has the code. He just enters it wrong, I guess. So we're waiting. So Abby says, you might want to go tell him. Then he told us, oh, I got the code.
Leave Juan with his bike.
I make sure that when you guys start to go, wait for him to catch up. Right? Don't blast.
So he's telling everybody, don't blast through the gate.
You can drop him down the road. Yeah.
Because he's going to come. His bike is lying on the ground on the right here.
I think it's pound 1486.
So he just misentered the code. So he finally got it. I sped up the film. I kept the audio the same.
Exactly.
So we get through the gate.
I was purposely slowing down so I could catch my breath.
So I told Doug, when we got to the gate, Doug was the guy in the brown that I just passed. I told him, I said, I don't plan on riding at that pace for 80 miles, however long the ride was supposed to be. And he said, oh yeah, it's gonna slow down, 20, 21, whatever. So the guy on the left in the blue is one of those who's not doing the whole ride. And there's a couple of them, you'll see them later in the video, give the backstory and then turn around and come home while we're at the store. We get that on every ride. So when they're doing that, if I'm in the mood, I just sit in. Most of the time, I just let them go. It's like, that's not the plan for the ride. But with the group, you can always sit in. You don't have to help the pace. I don't know what he's doing. He's using his shoe. He put his foot behind to wipe the tire. I just rode and came up front because that's a crash waiting to happen. I don't know if you guys noticed that. That's too dangerous. You can use, if you have a gloved hand and you worry about something on your tire, you can use your hand and do that carefully. But to put your foot back there, if it gets stuck in those spokes, you're going down and you can injure yourself. But for me, most of the time, if it's not safe, I just stop and spin the wheel and clean the tire. It's wet. It's been wet. It's drizzly. But right now, the rain has not really hit us yet. We felt a little bit of drizzle. In a little bit, you will see the rain come out full force. That's when I start to think, man, do I really want to do this? But by then, you're already there. You're a little wet. So I kind of got encouraged by what was happening, especially on that hill in Springbranch. I was riding so well. And riders leg gap opened on the hill. And I was like, I'm not going to expend my energy to close this gap, especially since I didn't want to ride at that pace for the distance we were doing anyway. So I was about to sit up, and then Moore was at the back, and he came around and pulled us back. You'll see it all develop on film. So then I just sat in and rode back up. So then I stayed with the group until the store. So throughout the ride, you have things going through your head. You have to consider, I always talk about riding with your head and your legs. Consider how this ride is meeting whatever you're trying to accomplish. And then you can decide whether you stay in and do what the group is doing, if it's going to benefit you. This is Doug's shot here. Doug's jersey matches his frame color. And I believe his socks go with another color that's on the frame. It looks good. So his socks is similar to the color on the down tube, the seat tube of the frame has that color on the socks. Then the upper part of the frame and the head tube and the top tube matches his jersey. That's a good setup, good kit.
Systematic.
That's looking pro, folks. You got to spend the time to think about stuff before you buy it. Don't just buy stuff because they're on sale. Get something that fits your current collection. You know, like you get the socks because, oh, I got this frame with that color. Let me get those socks. It looks really good. You can see that. It's hard to see the color on the frame, but if you look just on the seat tube right by the bottle, that's that color for the socks. It just looks good. That's the same stuff the pros do. They have probably professional designers that put their kits together. So we're riding around 20 miles an hour, which is more of a sensible pace if you're doing 80 plus miles. It's not just the speed, it's the effort. So you're comfortably in this zone. So now at this pace, if I were to get to the front, I would help that pace along, that effort, because that's consistent with what I want to do. And so Doug had kind of predicted as we went through the gate, the guy in front of me here, he had said, I think we're going to be doing 2021, something like that. And that's pretty much what it is. We're going downhill, so the speeds are going up, but the effort, you can see I'm not even pedaling. So they got that out of the system a little bit, and later on in the ride, the very guys that are pushing the pace, they didn't take the time to look at the map. So they make a wrong turn. Somebody whistles at them. They go right when we're supposed to go left after we finish Springbranch Road. Somebody whistles at them, so they got to turn around. By the time they turn around, the group's rolling. So I don't know if the camera picked me up. I told Mo, let's not make it easy for them to come back. Let them get this hammering out of the system by the time they catch us. That's Mo on the left.
I was telling Doug, I said, I don't plan on riding the whole ride like that.
Yeah, well, that's what I was asking. I asked Candy, I was like, did you guys decide to start to cut the 30 miles? Or?
They ride like that every week, and then they turn around at Taco and come home. They can't finish the ride.
That's exactly what Mo was saying. Mo said he asked them if they were going to do 30 miles. Because when you're riding that fast, you can only do it so long. I mean, even the pros, when they have a TT, if it's 20, 30K, it's a different pace than if it's 80K, whatever. You know, the human body has a finite amount of energy.
Almost did it.
So he said that's why he wasn't up front helping it along. He wasn't helping, just sit in.
Car, stopping.
There are a lot of riders when they see Mo and Mo shows up, I've heard them, they groan with displeasure, but they haven't figured out. They don't know Mo. They are not paying attention. Even on this ride, somebody groaned when I saw Mo. As I said good morning, I told him, come on. You know, I'm always happy to see Mo. What they don't understand is Mo doesn't ride like these guys that come and kill themselves for 20 miles and go home. Mo looks at what you guys are doing, and he blends in and he will do what you're doing. The issue is, whatever you're doing, if you can't sustain it when he takes over, he can't. So he just does what you've been doing. Now, if you can only do it for 2 minutes and he can do it for 10 minutes, don't blame him. And that's what, because that's what usually happens. You know, they'll do it for 2 minutes and want to sit up. Well, nah, you don't get to sit up. You don't get to dictate when we rest. So if you start something and you can't finish it, he sees that, oh, this is what the group wants to go. You heard him. He said, he asked somebody, are you riding for 30 miles? So what he does here, he's going to the front. He's going to make sure the pace is reasonable. He's going to go to the front and govern the pace, so to speak. Because he had just told us, he said he asked somebody, are we riding for just 30 miles? And that's when I told him, I said, a lot of these guys every week at Taco, they come back home. They don't do the whole ride. You know, they're a little tired. That's why we're going slow. They're not slowing down because they want to help anybody out. They've been riding over their heads, and this course is not easy. It's up and down. So that's what's going on. So a lot of riders will groan when they see Mo show up, and then they don't understand. He's not the problem. Mo will ride with you. He will ride with you. Whatever it is you're doing, he will do what you guys are doing. But then parts of the ride, if he wants to do something, he might chase like a work truck or something. Those guys that haul lawnmowers or something, they got a big cage behind them so he can see through it really well, and they give a great draft. He might get behind him and do 40 miles an hour for a bit, but he's not asking you to follow him. So he'll do that and then he'll turn around and come back to the group or something like that. But he doesn't come to the group to break up your group. It's like whatever your group is doing, he'll do it. But then there's always one or two people that will be doing more than what they can sustain. And when he continues it, then they want to complain. They're like, nah. It's like he's one of the easier riders to follow because if he chooses, he'll ride really steadily, but fast to where you can get a rhythm. You know, I mean, he can do the jumps and all that stuff too, you know, the racing stuff that these guys try to do. But it's kind of like he's fun to ride with because he will help riders, and you'll see it when we get on the hill. He will help riders who have fallen off the pace. He will bring you back to the group. He'll go and get people and bring, you know, shepherd people back to the main pack. And that gives him his workout because he's going back and pulling people back to the group. That's a workout for him. So I've seen that. He's been doing that as long as I've seen him riding in the area, you know, for years. That's what he does. He will help riders go back, bring people back to the group, you know. And so he's fun to ride with. I don't know why people groan when they see him. You hear like a complaint, almost like, "Oh, he's here today." Well, I don't feel that way. I'm actually happy to see him because he understands how to ride with people. He can ride slow. He can ride fast. So whatever your group is doing, he blends in. So what he's doing now is he's going to be like gatekeeper. He's going to drift to the back to make sure everybody's here who wants to be here. He'll always check. You know, if you're having a problem, he'll pull you back. He gives you encouragement. You got some of you've been there for a while. You've seen him push Paulie Longa or push other riders. You know, there was one ride I was on. I was like, what about me? I could use a push. You know. And one time I was riding, Shepherd Hill, I was riding and I started to slow down the hill. He's like, oh, you can't slow down here. And, you know, so sometimes that's all it takes for you to push a little more. And it's kind of fun. So I look forward to him riding with us. You know, I think the riders who complain don't really understand what's happening. A lot of riders just ride, they don't observe, and that's okay. Not everybody has the same talents or skills or whatever. I like to pay attention to details. I drift to the left so I don't have to brake. See that we got a nice tight line, reasonable pace. So if you're riding with your group and you guys want to do 100 miles, let's say if you usually average, say, 18 to 20, you guys could ride like 22, 23 in reasonable terrain and make really good time and not really strain too many of the other riders that are trying to hang on, as long as you're being steady. But don't focus so much on the speed, because as you change direction or the wind changes direction, you got to go faster if the wind's behind you, so you can do 37K, 23, 24 miles an hour, or even 25 if it's the same effort. And when you're doing the longer rides, avoid the jumps. Keep it steady, because people can hang on, And that way you'll have more cooperation from your riding mates on that particular ride. Not every ride needs to have the same characteristics. This is the reason why I don't bother these guys. They come to the ride, they want to do whatever. I decide what I want to do that day. And as I explained, most of the time we'll just sit in on the first hour and see what's going on. And then depending on how I feel, might go to the front, take a pull or whatever. But they were riding fast on this ride. It was very fast to start. Mo used the term vicious. He said, that starting pace was vicious. That's the reason you have to ride frequently. By riding frequently, it teaches your body, first of all, pedaling is not a natural thing for us. We walk. We don't cycle naturally. So you continue to work on, you know, how to move the pedals around. The neuromuscular pathways between your muscles and your brain are continual. You know, it's kind of like when you walk on the grass. If you stop walking on that path, the grass grows back in. It's the same thing. So riding frequently is more important than doing big rides once in a while. If you had to choose, you take a 30-minute, 1-hour ride every day is better than riding 5 hours one day on the weekend, because your body will be more acclimated and you will be able to handle cycling a lot easier if you do it more frequently. So don't frown on those short rides, even if it's on an indoor trainer. Just, you know, spin a little bit, whatever. This is FM 149 or Highway 149. We're going to turn. We're in Keenan. We're going to turn in about maybe 2 kilometers, about 1.5 miles. We're going to turn left. I let them know car back because this is a busy highway. So we try to use the shoulder. In a little bit, I will check my mirror. It's going to be clear. And then I'll get on the road. There's nothing behind right here. Nothing behind us. I get on the road. Because there's a lot of debris and the shoulder is narrow. The storm, I didn't see a lot of impact of the storm out here on this side of town. But there's a lot of debris. People put their garbage cans out here, especially on Saturdays sometimes, and they put it pretty close. There's something on the road there. That's why you saw Abby right there. There's a lot of little debris. There's still no car coming yet. So I stay on the road. Plus the speeds are picking up. We're going downhill. On this particular stretch right here, I don't like to expend a lot of energy because we're going to be turning left maybe in about 1,000 meters. And we get on Springbranch Road, and after maybe 3 kilometers, maybe a couple of miles, we come to that little 9-10% climb. It's nice. And then after that, it's lumpy. I let them know there's a car back. I don't know if I get on the shoulder or not. I think in a little bit somebody's going to get in front of the car that's back there. I think Maurizio or somebody, they let him know we're turning. And so we all stay here. So the driver slows down so we can get off this highway. You see the rain coming now. That's the rain droplet on the camera lens. Right here, the rain starts.
Car.
I let them know it's wet, so be careful. Don't lean the bike because the road is down. When it's just starting to rain, this is the most dangerous of the time for the road surface, because the film that the oils in the tar, the little moisture just lifts that film and brings it on top of the asphalt. It makes it very slippery. After the rain has come in its full, when it's raining hard, the road is actually less slippery than when it's just drizzling. Just keep that in mind. So you want to keep your bike upright. This is Springbranch Road. We're in northwest Montgomery County. I like this road. Get a good workout out here. You're not competing with cars. It's always quiet. Doesn't matter when you come out here. It's farm country. People have cattle and other things out here. The rain's coming. That's what Bo was talking about.
This is not forecasted.
I told him they did not forecast this. And, so he said, "What kind of ride you putting together? We got rain and all of this." He's telling me what kind of ride you put together. He was messing around. I don't control the weather. What kind of ride is it? You got rain and everything.
When you get 30%, we ride around. We ride a big area, so we usually 30%. You likely get something.
Yeah, because we cover a lot of ground. I mean, we're doing a loop that's at least 50 miles. The total ride is 100 miles. So at any given point, you're about 50 miles from home. That's why I don't mess with my maintenance. I make sure I check my bike often. Every midweek, I get the bike I'm gonna ride on the weekend. I make sure the chain and everything's ready. I don't have any shifting issues. So you guys can look at Doug's frame from this angle. I don't know if it doesn't show very well, but that color of his sock is the lower part of his tube, the seat tube and the down tube. That's the color that's on there. That's a triple T, I think it's a gravel bike. So I think he runs at least 32s on there or something. So right here, the road felt very slippery as I went through this corner. And as you see, I left a lot of room. I didn't want to lean my bike too much. It just felt twitchy. And the bike I'm riding, the orange bike, does not transfer information from the pavement as well as my steel bikes. It handles really well. It just doesn't let you know what it's doing. And I like to know. I like to know every little groove on the pavement. I want to feel it. That's why I like those steel bikes. They really communicate very well what's going on. This is what the rain has started. I'm hoping we don't get too many raindrops, but hopefully the wind will push it off. I wasn't thinking about the lens at this point. I was thinking about the climb that's coming up and making sure that I'm positioned very well. We're beginning to get wet here. And that's the thing in the bunch. Once the rain comes down, it's like, whatever wheel you're behind, you get sprayed. Oh, good, I wiped it. Whatever wheel you're behind, you get sprayed. And so I try to not follow a wheel directly behind. I mean, you got to work a little harder, but hey, I don't want to spray my face. I couldn't wear my glasses because it was very muggy and it just fogged up. So I have them on the back of my head. And you can see I'm to the right of Doug. So he moved a little to the right because he doesn't want to follow directly behind those guys either. That's why we're spread all over the road. So it's raining. And so I'm just a little behind. I'm going to ride up to them because we're coming up to that climb. And on the climb, a bunch of guys let 4 or 5 guys go off because some of the guys who are not going far were sprinting. And they sprinted up the climb or whatever. Other people were just riding. So by the time I got about to the top of the climb, the first bump, there's a gap. It's like, I'm not closing this. So I pulled over to the right. You'll see it happen. I was actually going to pull the pin. And then when more came around, I said, the train's here. So I jumped on the back. Because I don't care to be riding in all this spray. You see, it's been raining here before we got here. So now we begin to climb. I come up here and Shimpusai is in my way, so I go behind this guy. I follow the fastest wheel. Right around here, I think I stand right here. Those guys are already in the distance there. There's a gap. So by the time I finish the climb, I see the gap way up there. I say, I'm not closing that. I'm not wasting my energy. It would have been more efficient to just already be on their wheel. But since they got that much of a gap, I pulled off to the side here. That's Doug and Abby and them riding up. I wave these guys up. I don't want anybody sitting on my wheel. So once I see Mo's wheel, I go ahead and jump on. I say, oh, okay. So right here, I start to ride again. I was basically ready to sit up. So I'm going to ride up to the back of this group here. And in a little bit, Mo's going to go to the front and pull all of us up to those guys. See him point? He's letting them know to get on his wheel. This is what I was talking about earlier. He's riding with us. So I'll go ahead and get on Logan's wheel. So if you look at the watts, they're about 2 something. They jump all over the place, like the 3-second average. He's already pulled us to the group. I've turned off the power. We're on the back of the group. So I was doing about maybe 250 to 300 watts sitting in there. And right here, see 4 something because the road goes up just a little bit. So in lieu of me sitting up, because he pulled us back here, I decided, okay, since I'm here, I did all the work to come in, I'm just going to sit in the group to the store. This is where I said, okay, I'm already wet. You know, let's just go ahead and ride. And the rain did not let up. It continued. Okay, this is so when it's rainy, I love riding in the rain, but I love riding in the rain by myself or with another rider that has mud guards. I'll do that all day long. You guys who've been here long, you know, you've seen our rainy rides. But sitting in a bunch like this and getting this stuff sprayed on you, you get grit in your mouth, your eyes, it's a mess. I don't envy those boys that do Paris-Roubaix and stuff, especially when it's rainy and muddy. That's gotta be a long day. So these were the guys that had sprinted up the hill. Now they've sat up because now we've caught up and the speed is yo-yoing again. So this part of the road is a little damp, this light drizzle. But by the time we get to the end, the rain will be on full on. So on the way back, I stopped at one of the stores. I got their, they got these little paper towels, and I dampened it and cleaned the grit off my shorts and the saddle. If you get caught in the rain, that's what you want to pay attention to, especially if you have a leather saddle. You don't want that little grit to dig into your leather. It just messes up the finish of your leather. Because a lot of our leather, they put like polyurethane over it or something to preserve it. And that will grind that out. So whenever you can, you clean the underside of your short and wipe the seat down. Get that grit off of it. And you continue your ride. Yeah. Of course, once I got home, I degreased my drivetrain and re-lube. I always do that because the same grit I was talking about that gets on the saddle, gets in the chain, gets in the drivetrain. So I use that as an opportunity to clean that out. Use the pig or whatever chain cleaner you have. I like to use the pig and stuff like that because it has these little brushes that get all that stuff out of there. If you don't have the pig or something, use like a detail brush for your bike, preferably with black bristles. And you just use like a old bidon, a bottle, and use like a degreaser. Just use it on the chain and kind of use a water hose and clean it out. You need some kind of spray, something. That's why I like to use the pig. I can just spin that thing and all the grime and grit falls in the pig. You literally see it, the sandy loam at the bottom. But cleaning your chain like that will go a long way in keeping your drivetrain working properly, let's put it that way. And then you have a good longevity. You're not grinding your chain rings or cogs. That makes it like sandpaper. You see all the bubbles on the lens. The rain is picking up. Look at the road. We're basically riding into the rain. So by staying on Doug's right, I'm in the draft because that wind is coming from the west. And I'm not in the spray. I'm just a little to his right. That's the best you can do when it's wet like this. Because sitting directly behind the rider, that rooster tail just sprays in your face. And you see the road, the water spraying from each rider right now. So this group visibly slowed down after we went through that gate back there in the neighborhood. So whatever they were doing for that first 30, 35 minutes, obviously it wasn't sustainable. For them, anyway. And that's the stuff some of the groups around here will do. And then when Mo goes to the front and continues to sustain what they were doing, then they want to come back. Oh, Mo went so hard on our ride. You know, when Mo shows up, the ride's always fast. Well, you can't blame the guy for doing what you guys started. You know. You know, and then there are times when Mo will be on a ride and he'll tell us, hey, I got to get back by this time, and he'll take off, you know. And that's different. But when he's riding with you, he rides with you. Coming towards the end of Springbranch Road, and the guys at the front obviously did not look at the route, and they're going to turn the wrong way. We ride these roads a lot, but we use them differently depending on what we're doing that week. And all you have to do, you don't have to download it. A lot of riders know this area. Just open it up and look and see, okay, what are the main turns this week? And if you're not sure that you're at the front, you might want to ask somebody. So there's 2 or 3 of them sprinting to the corner. I think Mike Barreras is with them. And they're going to turn right. He's going to turn the correct way. He's going to turn left because he looked at the route. So he's going to turn left. They turn right. Then somebody whistles at him. That's what I told them. I said they didn't look at the map. They've already turned. So disc brakes making noise. Abby's calling out to them. So we turned the correct way. They went the opposite way. So by the time they turn around, I'm gonna ride. When I get up in there, I'm gonna tell Mo, let's not make it easy for them. I told him, I said that's why they were hammering, because they're not going the distance. But then we were surprised we see them turning around. We thought they were just going to ride to Taco, because maybe in about 5 miles or so, 5 or 6 miles would be at Taco. This area is called the Tri-Lakes area. This pavement is new, it's nice and smooth. So yeah, you have to work a little harder when it rains because you can't draft as closely. I mean, you know, especially in heavy rain, you don't want that spray in your face. So you got to be a little sneaky, stay a little out of the spray. If you're following a wheel, you don't have to be directly behind it. Even when it's dry, you don't have to be directly behind it. So it's the same thing. Most being sarcastic here. He says it's not like you don't post a ride and you don't tell them in the parking lot. He said, yeah, I'm being sarcastic. Basically what he was saying is, it's not like you don't tell them, you don't post a map or tell them in the parking lot what you're doing for them to turn the wrong way, because we see that they're coming. That's what he's saying is he said he just glances at it to see what we're doing, where we're turning, that kind of stuff. So you see how hard this ride has been. If you look at the power zones on the bottom of the screen, look at the 375 to 499 and the 375 to 374. You see how much of that is even taller than the lower zones, or close to it. That lets you know how hard we've been pushing, and that's watts. So we spent a lot of time doing 350, 400 and some watts, and some 500 watts. That lets you know you're working. Like right now, you know, so that's how you know. So this first part of the ride has been very hard. You don't do 500 watts for 5 hours. That's just not sensible, and it's not sustainable. And so all those accelerations that's why Mo said that the start was vicious. So we're talking about the fact that these guys didn't even look at the map. We all come out here a lot. The pace has kind of settled, you know, we're just riding, and there's always on a ride there are periods of time where there's a lull. So you can see we're talking. We're not really riding hard. We're just kind of rolling, you know, albeit 18, 19 miles an hour. Now I'm going to tell them, I said, in a little while, I don't know if the camera picks it up, it's like, let's not make it easy for them to catch us. So they never catch us until we get to the store and stop. So they had to work. And so when they get there, I left the camera running, and you would hear them explaining to people, oh, we're going back home. I got to go to Dallas to pick up my daughter and this and that. And so they felt the need to explain why they were turning around. I knew they were going to turn around. That's why they were riding like that. We get that every week. Somebody who's riding 100 miles rides differently than the person who's doing 20 miles. That's the reason we train 100 miles. You're going shorter, you can push more. You ride in a different zone for most of the ride. So you have to remember that when you're doing your rides. You're doing a long day, the group start doing crazy stuff. If you can sit in and be in your zone, then you do that. I'm telling y'all, Mark Barrera pushed somebody off of him. Some guy was crowding him on Springbranch Road. He said he called it a love tap. I don't know, from what I saw, it was like, get off of me. That old stuff that he talked about during the crit series in San Diego, you know. And that's the stuff you have to protect your front wheel. Like when you're sprinting, you see those guys leaning into people. You don't want the guy taking out your wheel. Put your body there to keep him off of you. Mike Barrera basically tapped him, like, you know, because he said the guy was actually moving into his space. it's one of those guys that just like to roll up alongside, got nowhere to go. And, you know, he should have held his position. But it was funny to see that. I haven't seen that in a long time. So that's what I was telling him. That's old school. You basically said, get off of me. And I bet you no one else noticed it. I mean, I know the guy did, but he probably didn't know what that meant. You know, I'm going by this guy. He's afraid of the wet. I can tell. I'm going by him. We're going to be descending really fast in a little bit. I think I already mentioned them more. Let's not make it easy for them to catch us. We're coming down to, there's a wooden bridge here, and it's very slippery, it's bumpy, it's crappy. They need to replace it. They've done the replacement of wooden bridges on Mount Moriah Road. We used to have 2 there a while back. So I'm letting everybody know this bridge is very bumpy. So all I do is I stand and keep the bike straight. And you see that. It's got little rivets holding the wood and stuff. So you gotta, that's not the place you want to do anything crazy. But you stand to take the weight off your wheels and let the bike move around under you. So at this point, they haven't caught back up. So that wrong turn they made, so I told Mo, let them get it out of the system by working. So these roads back here are very narrow. They're not for fast traffic. So even the cars that come back here, they're not moving very fast. These are little paths through people's neighborhoods. The tracks are slippery when it's wet. Metal surfaces, go straight. You don't want to turn on any metal. Manhole covers, that kind of stuff. If you must go over them, keep your bike straight. That's not where you want to turn. Metal becomes like ice when you put water on it. So when we get to the store, I would thank Mo for that pull back there. I told him that helped me restart my engine. And he said, oh, sure, you're welcome. Because I was about ready to sit up and just ride in. This guy in front of me, his name is Alejandro. We have a couple of Alejandros. I gotta get his last name. We have a couple of Alejandros in the group. And last week I kept calling Enrique Santiago. He corrected me on the channel. I don't know. I had Santiago Botrego stuck in my head, I guess. And something about his form reminds me of that professional. What is his name? Enrique Naranjo. I hope I pronounced that correctly, because the J is usually like I think it's almost like in Spanish you don't pronounce it with a J.
Line corner, be careful.
Like it's a Y or something like that. It's a silent sound. Naranjo. They had just gotten back to that bridge when we turned, and somebody dropped the bottle. That's what Mo said. So because if your cage is not holding the bottle very well, when you get over tracks or something like that, it can bounce out of the cage. Especially those carbon cages, depending on what kind of bottle you put in there. The really big bottles, the tall ones, they can bounce out easily. I've seen those cages break and drop bottles. So I use metal cages. I have a couple of, we use alloy cages on our bikes. They hold the bottle solidly. I've never dropped a bottle out of the cage. I think they're made by a company called King Cage. They've got a couple of the titanium copies and some of the aluminum copies. Yeah, it's raining full on. I mean, it's like we're wet. Shoes are squishy, all that. I didn't have no covers or anything. I did not expect rain. They said it was going to be cloudy. So this is the thing about the rain. I'm not in a hurry to get on anybody's wheel. So you end up working harder. You can see my watts, 500 and some watts, full something, whatever. So you're riding solo. You know, I don't want to get in a spray because everybody's got a rooster tail. By the time I turned around to come back into town, the rain had stopped. That's the reason I stopped at that store to clean off the saddle and get the grit off of the leather. Because it will chew off your polyurethane film that they use to coat your saddle. So Abby just told me, I said I did that without light. I don't know if you heard that. He complimented me. Abby has a way of complimenting you but being sarcastic at the same time. Talking about you match your bike really well because I'm wearing an orange jersey on my orange bike, and then the socks have orange trim, like Timo sock. That's why he said, instead of saying, "Oh, I like the way you match your bike," no, not Abby. Abby said, "I like the way your wife dressed you." And so I told him, I said, I did that in the dark because we don't have power. And so that's what we're laughing about. He can't just come out and pay you a compliment. He's got to be a smart aleck about it. Like one time I was riding my Colnago on one of his rides, and he said, Colnago will pay you $50,000 for that bike. That's his way of saying, nice bike. And so another rider was there, and he said, are you selling your bike? I said, no. He's just trying to say he likes the bike. And left it at that. Everybody's got their own little style and ways. So we're approaching the stop. And, the pace is 18 miles an hour. This is when you could talk. I mean, we're not really riding hard. That's what I'm talking about. This is when you can chat if you need to or whatever. But when it's on, it's not time to talk. So I was about to sit up back there and ride at this pace by myself, pretty much. I can do 18 to 20 for 100 miles, easy, sometimes a little more. But it's like,
somebody dropped the bottle.
I'm telling you, that's Kenny. I'm telling that those guys been working to catch up to us. He didn't realize they were still back there. I can see that light. They're down. They just got on this street. So, but they got a chance to ride hard off the back. So that's it. Yeah, they're back there. Kenny didn't know they were coming. He thought they had turned to go to Taco, because that's usually the norm. They'll kill themselves, go to Taco, then go back home. Saturday, I got to do at least 4 or 5 hours.
So, Doug, I'm not riding like this for 7 miles. You do that crap every ride.
Every Saturday, we get people that will come and hammer the first hour, then we don't see them again. These brakes, man.
I don't think so.
Yeah, Mo's going to let me know. These brakes, they stop quickly. He said you got to be careful behind them.
Have a lot of business this brake, they can slow down quicker than you. Exactly. So you don't want to run. And I've got like these carbon rims today. They're stopped really slow. Yeah, exactly. So that was the speed stop. You're gonna have to run into it. Yeah. And that's what happened. Roy almost ran into me on the bridge. It's like, whoa, they're gonna stop.
Yeah. As he's talking about, somebody almost ran into him.
I was telling the guys on the bridge, I said, this bridge is crappy. Slow down. Because they were flying towards it.
So I want you to just watch the epilogue here after the thing ends to kind of see when those guys come and start explaining what they're doing. I left the camera on because I knew that was going to happen.
All the time, and nothing has made me to say,
I did not go in the store because I did not want to expose myself to AC. Because when it's wet like that, you've been sweating, your pores are open. I just stayed outside. Because the AC's on in there. You can see the mist on the window. So I stayed outside. I didn't need water because it's such a cool day. This is where I'm going to tell Abby about hearing him and all of that. So I'll let you guys listen. But remember, get your K's in and keep all the doctors fired.
Okay. I heard you ask me a question. I wasn't going to talk. The way these guys were riding, I was like, what's the rush? So I was watching the wheel
So
in front of me.
in a little bit, these guys are going to come and tell us their story. They finally got back to catch up with us after making a wrong turn.
I see you, my man. I only do 50, 60.
I had nothing
I have to
but...
go to pick up my daughter in Dallas. Thank you.
All right, look at it, man. I had nothing but time this week.
So they made a point to let somebody know they're only doing 50 or 60 because he got to go pick up his daughter in Dallas. This is what I'm talking about. Just go. Just turn. Why did you ride to the store just to tell us that? You could have just turned around and gone, finish your ride because you didn't go in the store. But there's always a need to have a narrative as to why they're not doing what the group is doing. I talked about it last week. Don't feel that it's necessary. As long as you know what you're doing, other than the people you're tight with, nobody else needs to know. Just let the group know, we're turning. That's all. We don't need a backstory. See you guys next ride. Nice ride. See you next week. Whatever. That's good enough. So we're talking about a local restaurant that I'm telling Abby about.
So nice.
So I don't go inside the store. So I'm going to go in a little bit. I'm going to look for a place to use the restroom outside behind a tree or something. That's what I'm looking for because Abby knows all these spots. So I'm going to go to the right, but then there's a bunch of trucks and people are coming. The delivery trucks are back there. So I'll come back the opposite way. So I'm going to get on my bike in a little bit. I mean, we just got here. I'm ready to go. This stop was not necessary. You see the rain? It's raining. Mo's already ready to go. Mo's already on his bike. That's what I mean. You need to ride at a sustainable pace. Then you don't need to be doing all these stops. It's cool.
These guys get ready. This is full-out rain, Mo.
It's like in the mid-70s. It feels nice and comfortable. It's a nice change. So the rain kept the temperatures down. I told him I'm going to go look for a place to pee. So I come over on this side and everybody and their uncle hanging out on this side. That guy there's a truck. The guy's sitting in there waiting to deliver something. There's another one on the other side. So it's too busy here. So I'm going to go back past Mo and go on the opposite side. There's a dumpster thing there. And there's a lot of privacy behind it. Because I don't want to go inside. There's Mo. He's waiting. He's ready to go. More than like to waste time. Moving time is critical. So I see that dumpster thing over there. All the trucks that are delivering are on the left because I was on the opposite side there. So I'm going to go to the right here and go behind this thing. There's nothing but bushes back there. And it's not muddy. There's a lot of grass. So it's not going to have anything that's going to get in my cleats to mess up the exchange between my cleats and the saddle. Those are all the things I look for. So I lean my bike on this thing and walk behind that thing. And it's all grass. It's like lawn.